Video games are pretty cool. Tons of work go into the games we spend so much time playing. Some people love them because of their graphics, stories, characters, or gameplay. Well, I think an aspect in games that can be just as impactful as any other is the music. I love how different games utilize their soundtracks in so many different ways. In some games, the music takes the center stage and wants to capture your attention. Games like Xenoblade 2 come to mind, with its incredible music serving to enrich the different titans you'll explore. Other games like Splatoon 2, Cuphead, Smash Ultimate, and many more also serve to heighten the experience with its high energy tunes. But then there are games like Breath of the Wild, where most of the music is used not to capture your attention, but to add to the calm atmosphere of the destroyed land of Hyrule. Or Animal Crossing New Horizons, where the music that plays in the evening gives off a relaxing or somewhat chill vibe. Music has been great in video games since pretty much the beginning, with tons of tracks going back to even the Super Nintendo and PS1 era. And it's thanks to the awesome composers of these games that we have so much variety and game music to listen to today. In fact, there are a lot of games where I learned of their existence solely thanks to its music, such as Xenogears, Breath of Fire, Grandia, and many more. As you can see, I believe music is a very important aspect in video games, and because of that, I thought it would be fun to rank some of my favorite video game composers in a top 5 list. So without any further delay, let's get into it. Number 5 is Masashi Hamauzu, who is known for his work on Final Fantasy XIII. Now I know, it's a controversial game, but I'm of the opinion that the music is one of the best parts of it. Say what you want about the characters or the story, but it's hard to argue how good the soundtrack is. Tracks like The Vestige, Eden Under Siege, Saber's Edge all do a great job of either breathing life into environments or heightening the more dire moments of the story. Bartanalysis' theme is a personal favorite of mine, as well as the main theme of the game itself. Masashi Hamauzu also did a few tracks for Final Fantasy VII Remake, which made me really happy as that familiar sound returned for the newest game. Unfortunately, I can't really highlight music from Final Fantasy XIII because that game is a little weird with copyright, so just take my word for it, or listen to the OST yourself when you get the time. Number 4 is Soichi Terada, who is mainly known for his work on the Ape Escape series. If you've been on my channel before, you know that I adore these games and I would pay hard money for a brand new entry from Sony. Outside of the characters and iconic monkey designs, the music in Ape Escape is the most memorable aspect to me. Thanks to its unusual sound for a PS1 platformer, it stood out in my mind from the rest of the platformers like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon. The soundtrack is very heavy on synths and percussion, with certain locations having an Asian-inspired sound to them. Unfortunately, this style of music was only present for the first and third Ape Escape games, since Soichi Terada didn't compose for the second one. He also makes his own music, and it's pretty similar to Ape Escape, but since it's not technically video game music, I'm not really allowed to play a sample on YouTube. However, I will recommend you listen to Sumo Jungle Far East Recording. It's one of his best songs. Number 3 is Ryota Kazuka, who composed for Shin Megami Tensei IV, for Apocalypse, as well as Shin Megami Tensei V. I've done multiple videos on these games in the past, and any positive opinions I had on the soundtrack for these games still holds true. Being honest, I think that SMT IV has the overall best soundtrack in all of the games I've played in the series, not counting Persona. 4 and 4 Apocalypse had a very strong industrial vibe to its music, and it served to enrich the world in a way that in my opinion few others have done. It's a top tier soundtrack that I don't think I'll ever get tired of listening to. SMT V also had a great soundtrack, but overall 4 is still my favorite, with either the Tokyo theme or the boss theme being my absolute favorite. Number 2 is Shoji Meguro, who worked on the Persona series. While he no longer works at Atlus, the music he created while he did work there is nothing short of legendary status. Songs like Rivers in the Desert, Your Affection, Ideal in the Real, Signs of Love are among my favorites. Persona 4 Golden was the first taste of his music I got, as it was my first Persona game, and I remember humming to the music the entire way through. I also enjoyed the high energy battle themes with lyrics that at the time I couldn't understand, but it still had me hyped to fight any enemy that came my way. His work in Catherine was great too, which I honestly think is extremely underrated. It's a top tier story focused game, and I really want them to make more games like it in the future. I loved how in addition to the original music, there were also his own versions of classic pieces such as Frédéric Chopin's Revolutionary Etude, all of which worked together to create a soundtrack that really fit the vibe of the story, which explored themes of infidelity and regret. With how much I love Shoji Meguro's work, this was an extremely hard decision to make with putting it at number 2, and that's mainly because of who number 1 is, which is Yasunori Mitsuda. He worked on a lot of games such as the Xenoblade series as well as Xenogears and Xenosaga. But that's not all, he also composed for Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger. My favorite work of his is the entirety of Xenoblade 2's soundtrack, which is also my favorite JRPG of all time. Look, I know I went back and forth in deciding if it was or not, but as of now it is. Kinda hoping Xenoblade 3 can change that though. Tracks like Counterattack, Incoming, Fonsa Maima, Tantal, and Roaming the Wastes are some of my favorites. I especially love how there are night and day versions of Town and Titan themes. Each theme helped to differentiate the Titans as you explored. Tantal was cold and snowy, and the night theme reflected that. Another great track was Pass from Far Distance, which is usually played during extremely critical points in the story, usually when the main group is in some sort of peril or meeting an important character in the story. Chrono Cross also has an amazing soundtrack. A couple of standouts I love are Navel of the World and Dreams on the Shore Bordering Another World. I'd say the latter is a very popular song in the game because of how early you hear it and how hard it hits considering the main character has just been transported to another world. The complexity of the music in Chrono Cross is especially impressive considering the hardware and that the music was weaved together using sound effects. To do that and come up with music like this, I mean, what else needs to be said at this point? I think Yasunori Mitsuda deserves his place in the #1 spot. This wasn't an easy decision to make, as generally Persona music is among my favorite in the entire industry, but considering Mitsuda worked on both Chrono Cross and Xenoblade, in my opinion that puts him slightly above the rest. Before we end, I do have a couple of honorable mentions. These two have created some awesome tracks that I would say have a massive impact on the entire video game industry. Of course, I'm talking about both C418 and Toby Fox. C418 is responsible for the music in Minecraft, and while some might not think much about that, Minecraft is massive and the music had an effect on tons of people like me whose first experience playing it was on the Xbox 360 when the series finally came to consoles. This was back in 2012, I was in 9th grade at the time and I was 14, and the music that I discovered while playing became an instant classic to me. I still listen to some of the newer music like Dreiton, Area Math, and a lot more. I think it goes without saying that C418 influenced millions of kids that grew up playing Minecraft. As for Toby Fox, his music is just great. I haven't finished Undertale or Deltarune, but some of my favorite tracks are Spirit of Justice, Hip Shop, and Rude Buster. It's insane how far he's come too. Now he's out here composing tracks for Pokemon games, and he had his own original character Sans put in Smash Ultimate. So I think these two deserve being mentioned in this video. This was kind of a hard video to make for me because there are a ton of video game music that I love, but narrowing it down really gave me an idea of the kind of music that I like in video games. It also helped me realize how good indie game music can be. If you have any video game composers that you're a big fan of, let me know down below in the comments, as I'm always down to listen to new types of video game music. And that's gonna do it for this video. As always, if you liked it, leave a like, if not, leave a dislike, and if you want to see more videos from my channel talking about a plethora of games from both PlayStation and Nintendo consoles, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you in the next video.